it's Miss Hurst from Hamilton County Schools. We're going to continue our work with fairy tales today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, I want you to start by doing this warm-up. What roles do women play in fairy tales? I want you to consider the fairy tales we've read so far and any others you're familiar with. Pause me while you do that warm-up and press play when you're ready to continue. Okay, so today we're going to be tracing the development of a central idea over the course of a text and analyzing whether or not an author provided sufficient evidence. So what we're going to do is I want you to do a first read of the text, Female Gender Roles in Fairy Tales. And I want you to look closely for the central idea. And when you're done, I want you to write the central idea / claim of the text in a complete sentence, because that is what we're focusing on today. What is the author's claim and how does she prove it? It's not a particularly long text. So go ahead and do that work. Pause me while you do your first read and press play when you're ready to continue. All right, so the first thing we need to do is identify the central idea, which hopefully you already did. And hopefully you're gonna have something similar to what I'm gonna write. It might look slightly different. I think the central idea of this text was that fairy tales create unrealistic and unflattering views of women. So what we're going to do is we're going to find evidence to explain and explain how that evidence supports that central idea. I'm going to show you with one piece of evidence, and then I want you to do the work with the rest of the text. So the first thing that I noticed is that she's got a lot of introduction here that is not super helpful. Really, I have to go to the 4th paragraph before I find anything that actually proves her point. And it says, if she were the heroine, like Cinderella, spell it right, she's a weak character, constantly submitted to others' wishes and did good. So how does that prove that fairy tales create unrealistic and unflattering views of women? Okay, so I think Cinderella is a great example of an unrealistic and unflattering view of women. Cinderella is unrealistic because she always does good, whatever that means, but is also unflattering because she is weak. Right, so she's both unrealistic and unflattering. They didn't include the stepmother in Cinderella, which I thought was a missed opportunity because she is that evil villainess. I want you to go through the rest of the text and make sure that you find all the evidence that supports this central idea. Pause me while you do that work and press play when you're ready to continue. All right, if you didn't, I want you to take the time to look through this part in italics, and I want you to think, how does that prove the central idea or claim? Why did the author take the time to include this part in italics, okay? If you haven't done that, make sure you do that now. Pause me while you do that. All right, it's important to remember that a good reader is going to consider how an author developed their central idea and whether or not they did so convincingly. So if you look back up at our CLT today, we have traced the development of a central idea over the course of a text, but we have not taken the time to analyze whether or not an author provided sufficient evidence. So I want you to do a quick write right now. Did the author prove her claim? Why or why not? And then I want this extra thing because I think that we are familiar enough with fairy tales as a society that you can do this work. What might the author have added to support her argument? So like I said, I think she didn't take the time to really flesh out this idea of Cinderella's stepmother. It mentions it in the 5th paragraph. It says, think Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters. Kids always have that notion, but the funny thing is, in real life, stepmothers and stepsisters aren't always evil, right? So I think she could have fleshed out the evil things that the stepmother and stepsisters did to prove her point a little bit better. What else might the author have included to really prove her point? Once you're done with that, you will have met that CLT. So this idea of tracing the development of a central idea, you do need to provide some evidence and explanation to prove that she did or did not prove her claim. When you're done with that, you're good to go. Have a wonderful rest of your day.